Let's call this meeting the order of the Finance and Personnel Committee for February 21st, 2024. And we're going to start with number one on your printed agenda, which is public comment. And we'll start with Mr. Riston, please. Need your name and address.
I feel like at this point, Dory knows exactly where I live. Hi, everyone. My name is Isaac Riston. That's ISAACRISTON, 36 West Hanover Street, Ward 5. So my first point, I have three things really to talk about real quick, was the agenda item for the appointees, because online it didn't really specify what the appointees were for. I can see here clearly that it's more specified, so it's great. Because, I was able to confer or, figure out that the Library Board of Governors Mayor's appointee, thanks to the minutes from the Library Board of Governors January meeting that said the mayor has 2 appointees. It's a confusing process, and so I would love if the mayor or anyone from the borough can really explain how that process works, because when you look through the minutes of the Board of Governors, there's a nomination committee, and they discuss and they approve people. And so I don't know if mayor appointees do follow that or not follow that. I have no idea because it's not really spelled out. And so I just want to make sure that, if it did or did not happen, again, because the February meeting, which I imagine the nomination process would happen there and voted on. So again, I don't know. That's really my first point, just so the public is more aware, because I think transparency is something and a goal for the borough. And so making sure that everything is followed, and if it's not followed, because it might just be a norm and not a rule, why it wasn't followed, that kind of stuff. That said, I would be more than happy with Darlene, because she is my council member, so having more representation for Ward 5 is fantastic. But I would also have just some concern, because one, she is full support of the Keller report, which I am as well, which is great. Her quotes for saying that she can look you in the eye and she wants a library from last year is fantastic. But I would also say that her voting role, unfortunately, isn't what I would want, versus, looking to vote to fire the 8 part-time library members in January 2021, voting against a part-time fundraising program. So again, both of these are up there, as well as to have the mayor consider if there was a person who was already on the Library Board of Governors, if they wanted to stay or not. So again, this is the mayor's point. I think that Darlene would still be a good choice for those reasons, even though I do have some reservations, because that is government. We're not always going to agree on everything, but I just want to make sure the process is clear for everyone. Second is, this is for council, when would be the best time for people to make comments on where the library is going forward? I don't want to have people come in the 11th hour to say that I don't want the new transition for the Library Board of Governors for their presentation in June or wherever it's happening. When would people make best for comments for that? I don't want to, again, wait to the last minute. I think that's not productive for government, so please consider that, make comments when that be. And one last point, I promise you. I was at a 3-hour meeting on Monday. I promise you I won't go that long.
You're good.
Lastly, I really urge council to write a resolution for additional funding for the budget this year, for the state budget, for funding for the library. That was mentioned in the Keller report. State Representative Kate Klunk and State Senate Phillips Hill, they just got a grant over $200,000 for the library, right? I don't see any reason why our borough government can't ask for them to add something in the budget. And again, I know that is grant money. I understand that. That's different. That's someone was paid, I imagine, to write that grant, and then they probably put letters in to help support it to get it along the way. I know how that works. So just, again, but that's something we can do. That should be simple, easy to do. Oh, and sorry, one last thing for decorum-wise. You guys have hot mics. Please be aware of that. I've watched a lot of your meetings, and I've seen a lot of your comments. Just have a little bit of decorum. Thank you.
Okay, for the, what I'm going to do for how the appointments happen is we'll have the borough manager get in contact with you to maybe give a brief synopsis of how that happens.
That's totally up to you.
That's what our attorney wanted us to do.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Holt? Name and address, please, and
Mr. Chairman, Robert Holt, P.O. Box 1131. I'm in the 3rd Ward, Hanover. First, I'd like to say thank you for the vote last meeting on the library, and I'm asking you to keep your promise that was made when this current budget was passed, and that is, we're going to get the borough out of the library business. It doesn't say the library's going away, it doesn't say you're not going to make contributions, but the borough's got to get out of the library business, and I have the tax notice to show for it. Secondly, I was at a zoning board hearing this week regarding a project on McAllister Street, and it all seemed to be going well. But after the meeting was over, one of the proponents, one of the parties involved in the McAllister Street project, got a little emotional and got a little aggressive in his approaching one of the opponents, one of the people who spoke against the project. And that happened again in this room. And I just feel like people need to be able to come here and respectfully speak their piece, contribute their viewpoints without fear of intimidation or bullying or being pushed around. That will not stand. That's not what I go to work for every day, and that's not what I've dedicated my whole professional career to, was that people have access and people can speak without fear and intimidation. So I'm going to ask you to try to see what you can do to kind of keep that in check. Again, it happened after the meeting, but again, it happened in this building, and I just kind of find that dismaying. Lastly, there's going to be a presentation about Main Street, and there's going to be a discussion about alcohol consumption on the streets. And I'm going to ask you to really reconsider that. And I'm going to ask you to have a public referendum, if you must, of all the voters in the borough about, do they want a law that allows people to wander freely and drink alcohol anywhere they want? I feel like if a room someplace is not big enough for you to have your drink and enjoy your friendships, then the world's too small. It's not big enough. I just think there's a lot of problems. There's things that have come around and gone around with this whole thing. There's been people who think that walking along the street and drinking can also equate to they're entitled to get in their car and drive with that alcoholic beverage. And so this needs to stop. It's going to stop one way or the other. This borough has, over time, has a history of having an alcohol problem. And they've enabled people to cause death, devastation, and despair, and inflict harm on innocent people. And there's no amount of food drives, toy drives, virtue signaling that is ever going to compensate for the deaths and the human lives that have been marred with this. And you shouldn't have a policy that promotes it. And you shouldn't be financing an organization that is using that as a front to help businesses like the restaurant and lodging industry, which has a lobbyist and does pretty good on their own, without having the borough finance it as well. And I thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Mr. Fissel? Name, address?
Good evening. Nat Fissel, 311 DeGuy Avenue, and also Vice President of the Library Board of Governors. Just wanted to make a few comments on the Board of Governor appointment. I respect Mayor Whitman's ability to nominate her mayoral appointments to the Board of Governors. I can also appreciate the desire to select a borough resident to fill the vacant seat. However, the library governance was set up with a separate Board of Governors, clear intention to keep representation independent of council. While it may seem like a good idea to have a liaison between the Board of Governors and council, A representative from the borough, such as Manager Lewis, attends most Board of Governor meetings. And just like any member of the public, member of council could attend any Board of Governors meeting. So, I would just simply suggest that we don't rush to fill that seat, and that until Mayor Whitman and the library board nominating committee can mutually agree to an appointee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fissel. Community media, you want to help us out online?
Yeah, if you're joining us via Zoom, you're welcome to unmute yourself and address council if you so wish.
Nothing? Okay, then we'll move on to number 2 in the printed agenda. I'll turn that over to our solicitor.
Executive session was held tonight from 7:36 to 7:45 involving proposed board appointments under Section 708A1 of the Sunshine Act.
Okay, moving on to number 3 in the agenda. 3A has been moved to the February 28th, 2024 meeting. So we're going to go to 3B, which is Main Street Hanover, please.
Good evening. I'm Nikki Hoffman. This is Dan Frey. I'm treasurer of Main Street Hanover, and Dan is president. I think we provided you ahead of time our report as well as some financial statements. So I think before I would go through anything, are there any specific questions that anyone has? If not, I'll just highlight a couple of things within the few minutes that we have here tonight.
I have a question.
Sure.
I was looking at your operating funds, and it looks like, now you'll correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm kind of, new with this, with you. $64,850, that is all your operating, that's what you brought in financially
For operations, yes.
for operations? Is it normal to have compensation and benefits at 58,129, which is almost 90% of your budget? Is that typical?
So for this type of organization, it is, because we've got people that are just doing things for the downtown. Obviously, it's to revitalize the downtown. There's no other expenses. We have minor expenses for rent, maybe some office supplies, things like that. But our main expense, you're right, is the people. And it's the people that are doing the work to make the organization what it is.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions before I just
Anybody else?
highlight a couple of things? Okay. So just going to the update, the couple of bullet points there, you'll see what we did is we laid out our accomplishments over the last 6 months. So you'll see, all the good things that this organization is doing, and we hope to, obviously continue that. But we were able to elevate, community contributions to the organization. Our group did a great job of reaching out to the community via phone calls, meetings, mailings, things like that. So we were able to increase the contributions. Now, you will see under challenges that while we did increase the contributions that the community gave to the organization, they're just not quite there yet. We were hoping for, more, but they just aren't there. But we continue to try and come up with ways to increase the funds for the organization, other revenue streams and things like that, which you will see under that looking forward section of the handout I gave to you. You'll see that we did a lot of other items this year. I think that one of the biggest things that was very successful was the Christmas in Hanover. Even with the passing of one of the volunteers that contributed a lot of time to that, that was still successful. In addition to that, we were able to raise funds through grants to purchase all new decorations for the area. So I think our group has gotten a lot of great feedback on those donations, and it wouldn't have been for, Justine and Noel and folks on the Christmas in Hanover committee that raised those funds to do that. So we're very proud of what has happened over the last 6 months. Looking forward to the next 6 months and beyond, and you'll see that we have, taken an approach there looking forward, listing out all those things that we're going to be doing over the next 6 months and into the future to make this organization, a better place. One of the items I do want to highlight on here, the bullet points, is we've been finding, and it actually should be a challenge, is the community doesn't quite fully understand the different roles between the chamber, the borough, and Main Street Hanover. So that is something that we are going to work towards, making sure the community better understands the role of those three organizations and how we all work together to make Hanover a better place. So Dan, I don't know if you have anything to
Just
to
one
add.
comment. One of the challenges that we have as an organization, the new pole decorations, we got a grant of $100,000. Those poles belong to the borough. And we're finding as an organization that we can get grants for specific things. And people are very generous, organizations are very generous in giving us that money. But they do not want to fund operating expenses.
So they want to fund capital expenses, but not recurring.
And that is a challenge that we have. It's one that we know we have. We have a strategic plan geared to, and I'll simplify this, if we can get 5 or 10 large donors, $5,000, we're going to start meeting our budget. So it's a challenge that we have, and it just sort of boggles my mind. You go back to the people that give you the grants for these capital projects, or if we have an event, they can't go towards operating expenses, it has to go towards the event. And, it's probably have to educate, but it's something that, we're running into. And as Nikki indicated in answering your question, we're pretty lean on expenses. It's the labor that is intensive, and it's 2 employees. So I just wanted to point that out, that's one of the challenges. And we will be doing these monthly, with your permission. We get on your agenda. The next one.
You're going to come back recurring every month. I think that's great.
That was, we had a meeting with your, 5 to 7 minutes, or we'll give you the report and you can just read the report.
No, I think that's good.
But one of the issues was communication between the borough and Main Street. And we want to work on bettering that communication so that when we are making requests, it's not a matter of, we don't know what's going on. We want you to know what's going on. So that's
Yep.
it, unless you have other questions.
No, I have a comment, but I want to say that Christmas was awesome. The decorations, Eichelberger, Eisenhower, all of it.
Yeah, I
was
heard
great.
nothing but tremendous compliments about it.
It was
Great.
Good.
very well done.
Great.
I would just add that I think many of the events that you have, I'm surprised at the people where they come from. People come from other states, they come from Maryland, they come from all over the place to come here to this little town, which brings business to our town, which brings money to our town. So I appreciate those efforts. That's a very good thing for our
Well,
community.
and-
Thanks.
In driving into this meeting, I came through town, and I was amazed. All the parking lots are full. People are walking around, not just to bars, but to businesses. And if you look, we feel pretty proud. Our mission is the revitalization of downtown, and that's what we're working on. And you can see that. So we'll continue to do that. Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. We'll move on to number 4 in the agenda, the consent agenda. Any discussion? Not seeing any. I'll be looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
You already said discussion, which no one had. Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Moving on to number 5, Finance, Personnel, and Administration. A, CDBG grant for Baltimore Street parking lot. Do you want to talk about this, Mr. Grimm?
So the CDBG grant is something that the borough has taken advantage of before. It is the Community Development Block Grant. This is one of our favorite grants because matching can be as little as borough labor, which has been used in the past. What we're asking council to approve tonight is a resolution to submit an application for parking lot refurbishment. So this would be something that we discussed at the budget talks back last year and also in an enhancement committee. This would allow us to use CDBG funds to kind of kick off that project to enhance one of our parking lots. So the Baltimore Street parking lot, lot number 1, also known as the old Club 2000 lot, would be the first one where we would start. So we're asking to approve a resolution to submit the application for that parking lot, and we're asking to include in that project layout and design of the parking lot, new paving, new retaining wall and sidewalk, added vegetation, stormwater management, and updated LED lighting. The amount we are requesting for that is $175,000, and at this time, all we are asking is for an action item is the approval of the resolution to submit the application for this grant.
So what's the cash out of pocket for the borough versus
Just-
the grant?
Just labor. So there's no matching cash for this.
So will the parking lot, because the streetscape for downtown hasn't been finalized on type of lighting, fixtures, retaining walls, the aesthetics aspects.
Correct.
Will that be evaluated or done before we actually do this?
Yes, we've taken all that into account. We already have some prototypes, I guess I'll say, or examples of what we may use from Hanover Lantern, those kind of things. As we have with all of these grants that we have working now before us, it is a challenge, but we have done everything we can to continue to tie them together to keep everything contiguous as we work through these and move forward.
Obviously, this would be first before all the others, so it would be a good example of what we would end up doing.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. I think you're up for the next one, too,
Yep.
which is the Green Light Go.
So the next one is Green Light Go. This is another grant. So for this one, this is another one that we've talked about before in both public safety and at Public Works. The intersection of Eisenhower Drive and Home Depot and Red Lobster. It is a very accident-prone intersection, and I'm not talking about vehicle-to-vehicle accidents. Unfortunately, we've had several occasions of trucks catching the wire span that's holding the overhead traffic signals and pulling down the wire span and pulling down traffic signals. It has been a desire of mine to fix this a long time ago. It's very expensive. This grant allows us to work on that. The total amount of the grant is, the estimated costs right now are $410,000 to $425,000. With this grant, the borough match would be between $82,000 and $85,000.
What's
So-
the problem? The stuff isn't high enough?
Sagging.
Yes, so the wire mass, if you recall, like when they were originally put in, we didn't have those extra like right-hand turn lanes. As shopping has developed out there and over the years, they've hung more and more on those. We can't go any higher on the pole arms. So the wire span is beyond its limit. So we would have to replace the poles anyway. So it's better to go to a solid mast arm. And that would also make that similar to what we have in the square and down at a
So you're
Carlisle.
gonna go from the wire it's hanging on now to a steel,
Correct.
okay.
So not only that, as part of that, we would add more lighting to the intersection, updated LED lighting. There, right now, there's only 2 overhead streetlights there. We would add 4 for each corner. We would add a battery backup. As I'm sure all of you are aware, we have a very fragile electric system here. We are able to run some of our traffic signals on a generator, which we have been adding over the last several years to at least keep those functioning as the electric is down. This would allow us to have built-in battery backup so that will continue to snap on and run immediately when the power goes out. The design and engineering also goes along in there. That's also part of what's paid for in the grant, which sometimes you'll see in grants. Those are something we have to cover ourselves. In this grant, that is covered. So we are asking for this, the action items would be to approve a letter of funding, which, as we said, the borough match, and this would be 2025 or 2026, depending on how the project would progress. The borough match of $82,000 to $85,000. And then we would also have to approve a worker protection certification form, which is kind of standard for those working on those intersections.
So, Jim, I guess, is this already in the budget?
It would be programmed later, right?
Correct,
Because we're just committing that we would have the money in 25 or 26.
correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. So it's not something we have budgeted yet.
I make a motion.
Okay, I'm going to second.
Okay. Got a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passed? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Grimm.
Thank you.
We'll move on to 5C, which is third-party code inspector. Do we need to talk about this at all, or?
I'd make a motion to approve it as presented.
Anybody have any questions? Do I have a second?
Second.
Glad you walked up.
Glad you showed up, Chris.
Sit down, Miller.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
Works for me.
Next time, jog.
Nice job.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nice job.
Passed.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Chris.
Park and Recreation,
Well prepared, buddy.
6.
Good guy.
DCNR Master Planning Grant for Watershed Area.
Matt, will you do me a favor and introduce yourself first? I
Yes.
think this is the first time some of council's meeting you.
My name is Matt Perkins. I'm the borough's first Parks and Recreation Director, so thank you.
Thank you.
Excited to be here. All right, we are asking council's approval for us to submit a DCNR grant request for the master plan for the Shepherd Myers and for the Long Arm Reservoir master plan. This is all part of the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Plan Shaping Our Future 2024 through 2033 that was approved at the December 27th Borough Council meeting. The grant amount that we will be requesting is $165,000. The borough would be responsible for one half of that, $82,500, and it would be part of the 2025 budget.
AJ, do you have anything else to add?
Sure. So, as we've talked before, this was one of the key components of our open space and recreation plan that we had just completed at the end of the year. One of the things that they felt was a big jumping off point for us was to take advantage of this great resource we have out there in our watershed. So those 2,400 acres that we have out there, this is a master plan to solely focus on that area out there and do the study to determine what can be monetized, what can be done out there for the residents and visitors to Hanover. It's a 50% grant match, as Matt had stated, which is the exact same process we went through with our open space and rec plan. And with that would come public meetings, just as we've become accustomed to with these things, so there would definitely be public input. It's a great opportunity. Matt mentioned earlier at Rec Board, really is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to look at this area and see what we have out there and what can be realized.
Okay,
I make a motion.
I'll second that.
okay, any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No abstentions? Pass. Move on to number 7, which is Governance and Policy Committee. 7A, which is Council Retreat. Are you going to discuss that, or we're good? I mean, there was
an update included. Do you want to go over anything, Barb?
No, I just, only thing I would say, we talked about it at our meeting, and I think it's an excellent idea for us to spend the day learning, the people that learn together, play together, and work together. It's always a good thing. And I think we have an excellent person that Margie has recommended to lead our retreat. So save the day for an awesome day, March 23rd. What time does it start, Margie?
We start at
9
9.
a.m.
And we will send the agenda out as well as some homework assignments ahead of time for all of council. But it will start with a tour, and then the retreat will take place following the tour. But we will drive you around, and so you can see all of the facilities and some of the functionality, and have staff kind of highlight what they do at each one of the locations. So that'll be a benefit to any of you that haven't been out there before, so. But we'll
Margie has a
send out
great
the
day planned
agenda.
for us. I think it's a good day. It's a
Yeah.
good day.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 8, which is Public Safety Committee. Pretty cut and dry here as far as the advertisements of the ordinance to approve those 3 points on there.
Yeah.
I'll
have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Can I make a comment, Mr. Kress?
No.
I'm good anyway. I'd like to thank Public Works and the Police Department for putting the stop sign at School and Middle Street.
Right.
Because we'd had some bad accidents there and some real near misses. And apparently all the neighbors are all excited about it now. So anyway, thank you for your quick responsiveness to that deficiency.
Thank you, Mr. Rowland. Okay, number 9, Department of Planning and Engineering. Mr. Maines?
So I don't need any action from this, but I think it's important to keep this council engaged on your building projects as they're progressing. So we've hit kind of a benchmark moment in the architectural process for 33 Frederick, which is going to be the new administrative center. And that benchmark is basically, we reached the end of what we call design development. And design development is very simply when we have kind of put all those concepts and those ideas together, and then we've kind of vetted them against that, what do you want and what do you need, and kind of went through those exercises and really come out of the other end with a set of plans that we think represents, you know, a cost-effective strategy to get us across the street into the new building. And so we're actually just had a meeting this afternoon. We got a couple loose ends yet we're still working through. The next phase now is those drawings then start to turn into contract drawings. And those are what's going to hit the street. That's what's going to ultimately get us numbers from contractors and then set us up to start the construction project at 33 Frederick. So very aggressive as far as time schedule, very deliberate because the goal is to try and have the administrative function moved across the street by the end of this year. And then that way work can begin on the public safety part of which is the building that we are sitting in now. So just wanted to bring it to council. Again, just going to try to keep touch points with you guys so that you're aware of what's going on. Certainly as you have questions or you hear questions, if you want to get those to me, I'm happy to answer those. I'm sort of the point contact on a lot of this stuff. So that's all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Maines.
Yep.
Number 10, Hanover Economic Development Board, presentation.
Hi, JP Lunn with the Hanover Economic Development Corporation. I think you all received this memorandum in your packet, so I won't rehash that, but I will say that one of the core objectives of the EDC is to try and promote and foster entrepreneurship and business development in Hanover. And one of the ways we see doing that is through a business incubator series. So this would be the first opportunity we've had to do that. And we are working with the vendor now and getting some details on a vendor that wants to expand their business in the Hanover area, which would be great for the community. So the ask is that we would have a lease drawn up and prepared on terms to be approved by council. And it would be for essentially a pad site, a 75 by 75 at Good Field for this vendor. And then the HEDC would then manage the relationship with the vendor and the facility.
So this is not the existing site that's there?
No, that's been demolished for the most part.
Oh, is that gone now?
Yeah.
I knew that.
3G.
How often you go over there?
Yeah.
No.
This would be very simple. It's essentially just a pad site, and
Is that where it's going to be located, Mr. Grimm? Same,
Somewhere near that area
Okay.
because the utilities exist there.
right.
yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for him?
Good thing.
I'll be looking for a motion for A.
Seconded.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, number 11, any report of council members, council committees, or other public?
I don't have a report, but I would give commendations to the staff and Margie. The word grant is mentioned a lot of times in this agenda. Grants are nice. We like grants. We like them a lot. So thank you very much.
And I'll make one comment, just real quick. I did sit in one of the meetings for the drawings for across the street, and I will tell you that they are definitely doing an outstanding job with watching what they want and putting it together. The drawings were very clean for a first go-around. Okay, anything else? Management reports,
Nothing additional to what was
Thank
included
you.
in the packet?
correspondent, what we saw.
Yes, sir.
Additional public comment? Okay, community media, want to help me out online?
If you're joining us online, you can unmute yourself and address council if you wish to. No takers.
Okay, not seeing any. Number 15, we'll be looking for an adjournment.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.